Kenya is a unique country, very unique, especially some of the populist political leaders. We are told whenever the government wants to increase taxes, we are told we are punishing people. They even want us to do away with to have a massive reduction in taxation, and even those on the bottom line not to be taxed at all. But then the very, very same people who are pushing for that are the very, very same people who are insisting that more taxes should be given to the ground. Where do we get those taxations? I think, before I introduce myself, I think what we should do is, I want to agree with President Kipchirchir when he wants people to have the character of saving. I do remember that when I was a recruit in the police, before we even went for half-term, we had applied to join the police circle. But then hizo pesa zilikuliwa na class teacher. But later when I went to my station, the first thing I did was to join Harambe circle. So what I'm saying here is that we should have this habit of saving. We understand that the saving has interest, even if it is little. Now, if the government borrows, Uhuru Kenyatta's government borrowed heavily. Whether we pay the exact money or anything, but there must be a small interest. The small interest goes to people outside the country. Now, if Kenyans can save, then whatever interest that the government is, let's say the government is constructing a road from point A to point B, and then some Kenyans have saved, the government will borrow the money the Kenyans have saved so that the Kenyans use the road, and then the same Kenyans are paid with interest from the same government. So we should have a culture of saving. The second thing we should fight for is taxation. Why should you want there to be development when you yourself has not been taxed? Yes, there is the indirect taxation, because if you go to a shop and you buy anything, there is whatever you buy from a shop is somehow taxed indirectly that you don't feel it. So there's a place, the Americans got independence because they used to be taxed, but they did not have representation. So the crayon call was no taxation without representation. Let us teach our children to feel that they should be taxed, so that when in Kenya today, if you are not taxed, you feel you are a hero. Let us reverse it and make it such that when you are taxed, you feel you are a hero. I was in Nairobi Technical School, but I studied privately commerce. Commerce nowadays is called business studies. During my A-level, I went to a grammar school, Bungoma High School, where I studied economics. And that is what is making me record this tape. For the government to have money, because those who are fighting for the government not to tax people are the same people who want the government to send more money for development. But let me put it this way. The money, like Uhuru's government has borrowed a lot. We have borrowed other people's taxes. I don't know which country they borrowed from, but let us say he has borrowed from Pluto. The citizens of Pluto paid taxes to their government, so that Uhuru borrowed the taxes from those people, and Kenyans who are being born today will be double taxed. They'll be taxed for whatever use they'll be using that time, and they'll also be taxed to pay what we used. I'm assuming that we did not misuse it. There are three types of there are three ways the government can get money. One, for example, you see Ukraine. There is problems there. Once they finish their war, Russia may be fined to develop it, or even some countries, rich countries, can offer to assist that country back on its feet. That is a direct, that is what we used to call in economics, balance of economics, or balance of I can't remember balance of what, but even in Kenya, we used to have it during the Cold War between Soviet Union and Western countries. The Western countries feared that Kenya and other third world countries may be pulled towards the Iron Curtain. So they used to finance directly into our budget, where we could raise so much and say we raise 2 trillion, and we say our budget is 3 trillion. So they give us free, pretending that they are trying to balance our expenditures, but in reality bribing us so as not to be taken over by the Iron Curtain. That is one way of foreign injection of money. The second type of getting money is through natural resources. Personally, I can tell you that Kenya, we have enough natural resources. Like now, our budget is 3 trillion. If the natural resources were to be used, now we have this problem about energy use of, they say nowadays we are not supposed to use fossil fuel, such things. But if we use the fuel that we have in Kenya and all the natural resources, I am sure we can even get 5 trillion. But you see, if we get 5 trillion, our lifestyle will not change much, because we'll just find that the little taxation we do, and then maybe the civil service will be doubled. Civil service will be doubled. By this I mean, you find a school has 100 pupils where they are supposed to be 25. So more schools will be built and more teachers will be employed. So you'll find that we will be getting, but the 3 trillion, you see, most of the 3 trillion, about 40% goes to foreign debts. So maybe we'll be paying foreign debts at a higher level. Instead of 40% of today's, we may be paying maybe 60% of today's. It's just like when you get promoted, you find that very little changes come, because you put on 2 more suits, you eat greater food slightly. There's a slight change, but in all you'll find that you have doubled your income. So we have a lot of petroleum in the country. We have a lot of water in Turkana which can irrigate and create jobs for farmers. So if we do that, you'll find that these things now create taxation for the government, and we stop taxation and more money is taken to. That is making a big, but since currently all our natural resources are not used, we have to use taxation. And so please don't listen to those politicians who make out populist things. For us to live, for proud people live on their own. If we have to rely on debts and whatever, then we have to be beggars. But the most important thing is, let us realize what is there on the ground. Thank you.